Yeah. And that's got to be one of the most curious transitions for us line pilots out there. We all talk about the retirement date, age 65. Lately, a lot of the news has been revolving around age 67 and maybe even age 70 coming. A lot of the questions I've asked some of the people I've had the privilege to interview over the last few years is, would you stay if they changed it to 67 or longer? And let me ask you, if tomorrow they say, hey, you know what? They just passed a law. You can go to age 67 in 364 days. Would you come back?
That's a tough question. There's a lot of interest in doing that, but at the same time, it's been 38 years, and I feel like it's time for somebody else to take over, like you guys. The old saying, "Congratulations on retiring. I'll get out of my seat." That holds true. That's been from the dawn of aviation since they invented captains, and I think it's still true today. Now there's life after airline retirement. There's other flying that can still be done, and I'm exploring those options and looking forward to the next step in the career.
Yeah, so you're not done with flying, is what I'm hearing.
No, I figure as long as I can still pass the physical, and as long as I can still pass the check ride and find the airport, um, I'll keep going as long as it's fun.
Oh yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And I'm glad to hear that. I've flown with a few people lately, and of course, one of the topics of conversation, especially on those transcons, you sit there for 4, 5, 6 hours and you got to have something to talk about. So, I like to poke the bear sometimes and say, so are you going to fly after you retire? And I'm surprised how many pilots actually go, hell no, I don't want to be anywhere near an airplane or an airport after I retired. I am done. And I'm always surprised by that. Has that always been your reaction as well? Like, why would you want to stop doing what you love?
Um, well, a lot of people don't love it. So I've found a lot of people only went into aviation as a career without the first step of the recreational aspect of it. So a lot of people, and you guys have seen this, a lot of people don't have a recreational interest in flying, or an interest in flying something that's not airlines. So, and that's fine. Those people, they want to buy their motorhome and go cruise the country, or um, do nothing, buy a sailboat and go sail around the world, or whatever. As long as it doesn't involve an airplane or an airport, they're quite happy. Those of us that basically grew up with aviation and with a love of anything that flies, and who never got out of airplane flying outside of the airlines. I've always kept up general aviation interests. I've always kept my CFI current. I've always gone flying at whatever opportunity I've had outside of the airline. And that hasn't changed. I've been flying a Bonanza in the 5 weeks that I've been retired, and been having a great time. So that hadn't changed. Only the airline side of it has changed. So it's more of a shift to other kinds of flying, and looking forward to seeing where I fit in that new job market. So there's a lot of exploring to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And, that can be both exciting, I think, and daunting as well, because there's a lot of GA flying out there, a lot of corporate flying out there to be had, especially with the youngsters that are in corporate and they stay there a few years. And the second carrier will call them, they're like, I'm out. That's my goal. So I would imagine that with all the hiring that's happening, there should be some open opportunities for a pilot with as much experience as you have to be gobbled up by this corporate operator and say, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not afraid of leaving us in a few months to go to a bigger and better. You just want to fly. So the opportunity,
Right. Well,
exciting.
that's an interesting point, because there are some out there that are looking for retired airline people, as you point out, to have some stability in their operation, and people that are going to jump at the next available opportunity. On the other hand, there's a bit of a stigma with airline retirees in the non-airline world that makes it a little bit harder to make the transition because of some assumptions as to what the expectations of those pilots that are former airline people would have in the non-airline sector. So there's there's, as Captain Roger has pointed out, there's no dispatch, there's no load planners, there's no weather department. A lot of those things are done by the crew. So some people are easy with making that transition and going back basically to what I would consider my roots, or some people find that as too much of a task to take on and aren't willing to stick that out for very long.
Yeah.
So there's two sides to that. And, if the stigma can be overcome, there's a lot of opportunity out there. The other thing is that a lot of places are looking for type ratings on the equipment they're flying or hours in those airplanes. And coming from just the airline side with a Boeing or Airbus or a Douglas type rating, that in some cases doesn't buy you a lot of credibility or street cred, whatever, in the world of the smaller jets.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a navigational hurdle, but it's an exciting time, I think.
Yeah. And thank you for mentioning Captain Roger. I was just going to mention that, he and I have had this conversation many times. I've flown with plenty of captain over the years that they're already looking forward to, hey, I'm going to retire in 6 months and I really want to fly corporate, but you have because I mentioned that I have a friend who is the director of flight ops. Can you get me a job? And Roger's always mentioned to me that both of what you've said, the pros and cons of looking for work post-retirement, is in many aspects, you have, if a pilot truly does love flying and loves the job and has the professionalism that's required to stay safe out there, then yeah, absolutely. You want to hire somebody with all that experience. And at the same time, a corporate operator might look at that and go, well, they want to be spoon-fed all, like you said, there is no dispatch, there is no weather reporting. You have to do that, right? And you have to go back to your GA world and what you were doing when you're building hours. But now we have all these apps like ForeFlight, and we have a weather apps, and everything's on a tablet. And even your ADSB is your traffic, your TCAS is on your tablet when you're flying GA. So you would think that that aspect of the pilot that is, retired and now wants to continue to fly corporate, and they don't want to do the work, a lot of that work has been minimized by the technology that's available today. So you would think that that's no longer as big a deal as it used to.
Well, certainly, and those apps you mentioned are pretty much in common with what we've had at the airline. So in that regard, it's pretty similar. So it's just the scheduling, the operation, the randomness of the assignments.
Yeah.
That kind of dictates, the way they operate. So it's a little bit like, being on reserve a little bit more of the time.
Yeah.
And some of it's scheduled. So, it's all over, and I'm still exploring that. So I've had some interest. I've had one job offer, one exploratory interview, and somebody reached out to me just this week already to look at something else. So it's an interesting time, and the hard part is to find something that fits the retiree mindset, and at the same time, I want to be giving back to the industry because there's a lot of new people coming through, and it's guaranteed that I'll be flying with lower time individuals that are, like you said, looking to get to the airline at some point. So it's important to give them a good foundation for whatever their career steps take them in the future. So that's
Yeah.
a really important part of whatever comes up in the next phase. So it's fun, it's challenging, it's daunting, but we're going to be looking at a lot of things. So there's going to be something out there where I'm going to fit in, I'm sure.
Absolutely.